Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Welcome to Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy. For too long now, our generally perceived poorly educated electorate have fallen victim to the cheap and inferior propaganda of those seeking to hold others captive under the guise of democracy. Gladly, the CDGG uses edification to help to actively pursue a sustainable approach to reorient our people towards the importance of electing and selecting people of good character to public life. Through edification, we will highlight the importance of education appropriate to our development, proper health care and facilities as our right, respect for law and order, not to mention upgrading our people's thinking so they could become qualified participants in the democratic process to their advantage. After all, Grenada's national constitution makes allowances for the ideal of free men to enjoy freedom from fear and want, which can be best achieved if conditions are created whereby everyone may enjoy his economic, social and political, civil and cultural rights.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all. Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation.
Wonderful, folks, and pleasant afternoon to all of you. It's such a plum-pleasing pleasure. Let me just sort this out. Yes, was able to, and here we go again. So it's yet another week, another opportunity above ground, and of course, we should all be loving it. Another opportunity at life again. What a wonderful, plum-pleasing pleasure it is to join all of you, lovely people. Folks, we have a lot to share today, and of course, our subject matter proves to be very edifying indeed, if I may say so myself. So I want to just welcome you once again. And of course, as soon as you come into the room and you finish with your greetings to our edification community, hit that share button and let's get a move on. We are in for an instructive ride today, yet another one, as we seek to come out of the rat race bequeathed to us by the failings of our leaders over the years. Be as interactive as you are used to being, with all your relevant comments, your like, your love, whatever it is, emojis, whatever else that you feel that you would like to contribute to this program today. For those of you who have not yet followed Edification, wherever, on the Eddie Frederick page, or on Facebook, or even on YouTube, I advise you, in the case of YouTube, to subscribe. And in the case of Eddie Frederick on Facebook, just follow. Follow, and you will never be disappointed, because you would be in for the treat for these deliverables to come straight to you. Of course, I share only positive vibes delivered in a tough love context, in packages of tough love. And they will come to you straight, without any barn shot, so to speak. So trust me, I know the value of consistency. It continues to reap the desired rewards for me. I can tell you of this firsthand. Our topic today is, in order to stop being in a rat race, you have to stop being a rat. Don't expect to get out of a rat race if you were not a rat in the first place, because you have no right in a rat race if you're not a rat. It's quite logical that a rat cannot get out of a rat race because a rat needs the cheese. No matter what, if it stays out of the race, it is just going to regret it and suffer because it's a rat. It was Philip J. Daco who said, in a rat race, you got cheese that has been placed there and activities that are being designed for you. A setting that's been orchestrated all by another species. You see, think about that. How many things are we pursuing in life that have been placed before us, and they have been a manifestation of desires that don't even belong to us? You see, the way you opt out of this rat race life is not by saying you are not going to play society's games, but you have to make a commitment to purify yourself of needing the praise and prizes that society gives to the people who play those games. We must be okay with knowing that we are good with ourselves and our family, to include the extremely close friends who became the family that we made that conscious decision to choose. Many of us use the term rat race without even stopping to think about it. Today, I want for us to take a closer look at the term to determine whether or not we are engulfed by it, and examine ways that we can get out of it and avoid it in the future. We ought to take care of number one. Look, number one here, folks. Each of you should be pointing at yourself right now. You are number one in your life, so that you can ensure that your personal lives reflect a consciousness that's in keeping with our focus on our own growth. Our own growth and development. The new administration in St. George, the thrust towards transformation, beckons us to move away from such subculturally inclined way of life as the very unpleasant one many of us who have jobs that require us to work very hard in order to compete with others for money, power, status, and the list goes on. We all need to relook our lives to see where we fall on the totem pole of this spectrum and reorder our agenda for our very lives, the only life we have. Other terms for rat race: battle of life, daily grind. I've heard some people call it the hamster cage, survival of the fittest, the treadmill, and vicious circle. The opposite of rat race is, of course, to live an essential life. And that is what we should be yearning for, an essential life. But when we are apt to follow what you call con men, con women, old thief, old nastinesses who pose as leaders, you could ever have an essential life? Hell no. You'll have a rat race of a life. You see, essential life has as little triviality and superfluousness. And superfluousness is one of these big words that mean more than is required as possible. It is autonomous, independent, in other words, and not automatic. It is living on purpose, with a purpose. Too many of our people vibrate in this life without goals, without purpose and focus, and they continue to volunteer to participate in the rat race while pointing fingers at others, as if to blame them for the rat race in which they currently exist. So folks, take note. In order to stop being in a rat race, you have to stop being a rat. Let's take a little break and we'll come right back with more as we, endeavor to get you edified today in the strictest sense of the word. So let's take a little break here.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
Hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safely and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftop and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wunderbar, as the Germans would say. Well, folks, welcome back. And for those of you just joining, I want to welcome you. Hit that share button as soon as you come in, and let's get, let's get the comments going. Let's get things happening here today, because we have a lot of ground to cover. Plenty ground to cover, and very limited time, I dare say. Very limited time. So, we all hear of the saying that we must live intentional lives. And I wonder how many of us really know what that means. Taking responsibility for who we are and making conscious decisions as to our life's path. Folks, how could you live an intentional life if every morning when you wake up, the first thing you say is, Lord, you mean it's morning already? That's the first intention you stated, really. How is your day going to look after having that as a chant as soon as you wake up? Folks, when we refuse to take responsibility, con men, con women posing as leaders who are generally inferior in their own right are allowed to run amok and lead us to nowhere in quick time and get us to be immersed in their agenda, which sees them having cheerleaders in you while they prosper, with your results being that of poor and vulnerable. If you pay close attention, you will see that our poor and vulnerable are properly ensconced in the rat race of life just to survive. How to escape the rat race and live more intentionally? I often meet up with people who are trapped in a vicious cycle. The daily grind of long hours for very little to no return. The soul-sucking commute. And of course, the monotony of extremely low to no incomes, and who have become hopeless in life. They've climbed tirelessly, only to realize they're on a treadmill with their progress limited to movement in one place and not on a trail to true freedom. Excruciating burnout, the empty promise of the next promotion, the illusion that more equals better. You know, these are sentiments I have not only felt before, but heard countless other echo. Now, if only we could be told the truth. Breaking free isn't about waiting for a eureka. What's a eureka? A cry for joy. You know, a lot of us look for this eureka moment, or a golden ticket, or for our boat to come in, our ship to sail. Folks, it's about deliberate steps, intentional choices, and understanding that freedom extends beyond having money. It's living, rarely living, and not just existing, as most of us do only too well. We really have to change our mindsets. And as long as we don't change our mindsets, elements like the old nastiness and his crew will always gobble you up. You don't need to upend or turn around your life overnight. Oh no, that's a tall order. Start by understanding what truly drives you, what ignites the passion and that fire from within. Then step by step, move toward that vision. But you cannot move out of your current stagnation while hanging around the same people who either brought you there or you love so much that you cannot see yourself living without, who help to anchor you in that stagnated position. You see, your associations need to change. Many of us can do with some guide as to how to escape the rat race, reclaim our time, and design a life that aligns with our passions. Scale down. Scale down, folks, to what truly matters, not up. You see, what most people get wrong about escaping the rat race is thinking it's about scaling up non-stop. But for me, it's about scaling down to what truly matters. You know, a lot of people my age, a little younger, probably even a little older, have not yet come to the realization that the older you get is the less your needs become. And some of them still do not have a grasp for the concept of enough. And what do? They go for broke. All at the age of 70, 75 and counting. They want to be blocking space and being gainfully employed under the umbrella of somebody else's security while they block a young person from getting that chance and that opportunity. And they feel that that is all right. If you want to work, you should have your own work by that time. That is my philosophy. You see, my ambitions are simple, yet infinitely richer. Not living paycheck to paycheck or depending on handouts. Spending quality time only with loved ones, the positive members of your family and friends. Working on interesting projects and events, and even activities that spark joy. Those things should give you peace, which leads to your happiness. You see, the freedom to vacation with no strings attached, ruthlessly cutting out what does not serve your happiness, even if it is the people you are currently associated with. Once you find these people are like lumps on a log, tits on a bull to you, in other words, useless, hey, cut them out. Just make some drastic changes. In the process, ask yourself, are you running someone else's race? Or are you carving out your path one step at a time towards intentional living? Folks, intentional living is a serious thing. You cannot be intentional about your living, but you still want to hold on to losers around you. Let's dig a little deeper. I found these 10 steps for escaping the rat race, and I decided I would want to share them with you. Decide what you want in life. Once you pinpoint what you want and what you don't want, every decision, move, and risk that you take becomes purpose-driven. It becomes a step toward a life that's truly yours. Folks, claim your life now and stop lending people your life till you die, and then you never made use of it. Make a clear plan and roadmap to achieve freedom, genuine freedom. Define your milestones. Take baby steps. Be flexible. I remember it was Les Brown who say, inch by inch you make a cinch. But just remember, yard by yard, you'll find that it's hard. So take baby steps and be flexible in the process. Be money smart, number 3. Live within your means. Stop trying to impress people with things you cannot afford. Eating home more often rather than, going out and subjecting yourself to less for more, because eating out is expensive. And to a great extent, is a lot of MSG infused food you're getting. It's killing you, because these people that you eat out by want to give their food instant, nice flavor. So it's plenty MSG in your tail, raising your pressure. You like the food, it's nice, but it's killing you. It's helping to contribute to our low life expectancy in Grenada and terrible health issues while you are working. Folks, study your head, my man. This helps in no small measure to helping you to get creative with your budget. Eat home. You know what you're putting in your food. You know what you're eating. Number 4, pursue a career that you love. Investigating your passion would lead you to craft a unique path, creating a ripple effect of positivity and value. Number 5, diversify income streams. Branch out within your niche. Start something on your own, never mind how small. This will help you to safeguard your income. Hone in on a broader skill set by taking a course in something that can make you more versatile and even in demand. Number 6, we want you to pursue passive income streams. Maximize your impact and monthly cash flow without stretching your hours so that you can put some quality in your life. So work smarter, not harder. Become creative so you move away from time-consuming and labor-intensive activities. Number 7, it's important, folks, create an emergency fund. When you operate solo, you will experience peaks and valleys. So expect them. The highs are exhilarating, but the lows test our resilience. That is the main reason why being financially prepared is crucial for navigating inevitable downturns. Number 8, let your savings work for you. Don't preserve your money. Amplify it. Multiply it. Number 9, stay resilient. Challenges will arise and trends will shift. Your resilience and willingness to adapt will determine your success. And of course, number 10, build a personal brand. Never underestimate the transformative power of building your own brand. Folks, I have mine. I am tunnel vision about what I do, how I do it, who I do it with. Folks, that's my brand. And I've established that over the years. I take no prisoners. I do what needs to be done. And when people see me, they get a feeling. Whether that feeling is good or bad, it's up to them. But I know I conjure up in many people a feeling. That's a brand. You see, over the years, I stuck to what I know and love. Training and development of people. I do it with consistent firmness and a genuine love for people's growth in my matter-of-factly manner, regardless of their reactions. This has built credibility and authority and an ultimate network for great opportunities. I'm in total control of my narrative, my story. And I set myself up for long-term career security. When people looking for results and a serious person to deliver such results +1, hello, they call me. Trust me, the rush I get from the brand that I have developed is exhilarating. Folks, you can feel it. Couldn't you feel it every Sunday? I get a rush doing these things, folks, and being who I am. That's your brand. If you are a hider, a very fearful person, that's your brand too. But check your achievements and you realize you have to change that brand. Change that brand because it's not working. A woman within earshot the other day didn't realize that I heard her. And of course I confronted her. She was saying to somebody else who was showing enthusiasm and excitement to see me. And at first I don't like that man, he have an attitude. She was so shocked when I told her, but my attitude works for me. Does yours work for you? Did you see her pretending that she was doing something else and all over the place and whatnot because she didn't expect me to hear? Folks, I don't have no attitude. What you see is what you get. You just can't take me and play no fool with me. That's all it is. And you call that an attitude. It's not an attitude. It works for me. You see, I am getting the desired results for my life. Personal growth and development is taking place. Up, 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 up. But all of you who are hiding, all of you who are weak, feeble, fearful, and don't want to offend, examine your lives, folks, and you see you ain't going nowhere, and you're getting there in a hurry. So study your heads, change. Folks, in order to stop being in a rat race, you have to stop being a rat. And to stop being a rat requires smart choices, tough decisions, and the ability and willingness to reach out with sincerity for help that would guide you in rearranging your thinking and changing your priorities. Let's take another break and we'll come back. Folks, I have a lot more to come, so study your head. Keep tuned in and continue to share the live, share the live, share the live. And for those of you just joining, I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for taking this time out to join with me here this afternoon to ensure that I don't speak to myself. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
Hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to bake safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wunderbar, lovely. So folks, welcome back. And for those of you who just joined between, of course, that break period there, welcome, welcome, welcome. And don't forget, I'd like to remind you to share the live. Folks, too many of our people have become lazy to the point where we accept how we are as how we are meant to be. A matter of fact, even in our culture, we've had 2 calypsos, 2 soca songs, big songs that epitomize who we are. I like how we live in. But is it really working? You know that song? Remember that song? By Japs? I like how we live in good. So that gives us the opportunity to stay just as we are because we like how we live in. Now you could like how you live in and even want it to be better. So that when you come with another version of that particular song, you see growth. But when we say we like how we live in, hello, we mean that is where we reach and that is how we want it. Tell them it's so we day is the next version of our refusal to grow. And we think that is culture. That's not culture, folks. That is subculture. What is sub? Below. Not enough. Inadequate. Stagnation, according to Betty Ann. And we love it so because we think how we live is so life was meant to be. No, it isn't. Because how I used to live, I knew that that is not how I wanted to live till I die. And that is why I made the commitment to get out of poverty. Folks, each and every one of you listening to me right now, tuned in, you were born to be that one in your family to break that cycle of poverty in your family. So cut out this nonsense about tell them it's so we day and I like how we live in and what you go do, my mother poor, so what I go do, I do have no choice. Rubbish. The Nigerians say rubbish because it is rubbish. Rubbish, oh. You see, without being conscious, we have allowed ourselves to become extensions of others who never meant well for us, even though they repeat misleading words time after time to convince us that they are on our side. Look at the old nastiness, for instance. The old nastiness have you totally brainwashed to think so you should be because it suits him. Grenada is full of spiritual leeches who are assigned to us to drain our time, drain our energy, drain our efforts. This is why many of us are frustrated and exhausted and prove difficult, bordering on impossible to help. You see, some of us are out here trying to help people whose very vibrational frequency is so low that they do not desire our help. We are trying to save people that don't want to be saved. All they want from us is our energy and emotional effort. That is why we cannot give in to them by acquiescing to their cry for help, as the help they need is most times not the one they have defined in their very heads, but of a deeper need, spiritual freedom. As I told you last week, learning is the beginning of health, because when you are learned, you make better health choices. You don't leave home in a hurry in the morning with only the front of your shirt tucked into your pants because you forget the back out. Looking Japan chupul because you're in a rush. But why did not get enough sleep last night? Because you're on the phone supping and LOLing with unemployed friends who are nowhere to wake up to go next day. And you have, but you're following them. You see something wrong among you. A lot of you retarded, you know. A lot of you are retardos. And then you can't cook. You can't get up in time to do something to go to work with. So then you're gone in town to compete with all them old people and them that selling. You're gone looking for a $10 box of food. Food in Grenada that they sell for $10 right now is cooked with essence. It don't even look like food. Some of them don't even smell like food. I wouldn't even give my dog that kind of food. but you gone eating that. You see, a lot of you just end up croaking on the job because you're not taking care of number one. And if you treat yourself like that, that's why I stay away from a lot among you, you know. Because when I see how you all not taking care of yourselves, me, I don't want to be nowhere near all you because all you will kill me. If you are actively pursuing suicide for yourself, I must come around you. Joke you make it. You see, learning is the beginning of health. Learning is, of course, the beginning of wealth. Because when you learn, you move up in your job. When you move up in your job, what happens? You get more pay. So isn't wealth happening? Come on, folks. Elementary. Learning is the beginning of prosperity. Learning is the beginning of democracy, as democracy presupposes its participants are intelligent, and therefore learning feeds intelligence. Learning is the beginning of freedom, which comes with responsibility. And when you learn, you understand that freedom is not just bung away, do what you want. No. Freedom comes with limits. Freedom comes with responsibilities. You see, all virtues start with learning and gives the good learner, character. Not reputation, character. Because you see, character is who you are. I have one phone. Learning does that to you folks. Because the learning has informed my priorities. One phone is enough. One carrier is enough. And you and I know they have 2 carriers now in Grenada, 2, 3, whatever it is. And only one can stand the test of time. Only one. And that's the one I am with. Never left them. You see, is rat race a good thing? But how could it be? How do you know when it's time for a change? And that you're prepared to leave your comfort zone, which is the rat race, for a new outlook on life? Ask yourself these 4 questions. I did, and took the leap and never looked back. You see, plenty of people live this way. You may very well live according to this guideline pace of life. This guideline that it leads you basically to a grueling kind of life. The 2+ hour long commute, to and from work, like the people coming from Sortes to St. George's. That's an hour. It could even be more. Because you and I know traffic is just a mess these days. But what about these people having to leave extra early to avoid the traffic? You see how much time that is being wasted there? Long hours on the job. Having to always be on, even after hours and on weekends. Time away from your family. Relentless competition from inside and outside your company or your organization or wherever you work. You see, there are people who will tell you they work with many folks who hit a similar point as they did when the thought, what's next? Because this can't be all there is, goes from barely audible whisper in the back of one's mind to an unmistakable battle cry. Because in truth and in fact, this cannot be all there is. That's a hassle, every day. Well, that has to be a rat race. You see, as someone who left the rat race myself, I can speak with some measure of authority. The first thing I found necessary to leave that rat race was to shave my associations. and the several that were not making sense got left. I started to breathe much easier. My air quality went up, giving my brain the oxygen it needed to become clear and spend less time feeling crowded by people who brought nothing worthwhile to the table of my life. So what happens if you wake up one morning and you don't want to live this way anymore? You see, when you know you're ready to get out, there are a couple signs that you're ready to make a life change. From my experience, mid-career tends to be the time when many people reevaluate what's truly important to them. You've been at it long enough to know the vision of what you hoped to achieve through all your sacrifice was perhaps not what you thought. Come on, folks, let's face it. Not coincidentally, this may also be a time a few in my generation start their own families. A little late, but hello. Whether naturally or through adoption. You see, I realized that hectic schedule didn't leave any room to balance my work with my personal life. The story is told of those who were making a solid income and progressing up the corporate ladder in companies. A great opportunity, working side by side with some very smart people. But it was cannibalized by the cost of living and all the time it took them away from families. What worked for us when we were in our 20s and even early 30s simply cannot work anymore once a family is in the picture and parenthood is also an assumed role. You see, as I spent 2+ hours a day commuting, with several meetings in between, that whisper, what next? Because this can't be all there is, tend to get louder and louder. You see, now you realize it is time to evaluate your situation against the following 4 points to help determine just how ready you are to make a change. 1. Do you like the way your future looks? And tell me something. We are not necessarily clairvoyant, so we can't see the future. But you can judge the future, what's to come, by your present. Do you like your present? Take a step out of the line. Look a few paces ahead at the man or woman that you report to today. Do you want to be him or her 5 to 10 years from now? If the answer is no, then you probably want to consider the path you're on and the fastest way to get off of it. Now, there's this other one too. Are you okay with an uncharted path or taking a step back? You see, everyone's path to a new way of living is different. Can you leave your ego at the door if necessary? Making a radical life change often means that you may have to take a few steps backwards in order to make leaps forward. Maybe you'll make less money or have to take a less prestigious position with a less well-known company. If you're okay with that, you're more than okay with taking on the risks associated with big life changes. When you don't derive your full value from your paycheck, it is more than likely that you will make choices that support your overall quality of life. The third one, can you handle the worst case scenario? Folks, listen to this. What is your worst case financial scenario? For me, the worst possible thing that could happen is that I couldn't provide the basic needs for myself and my family. And what are these basic needs? Food and shelter. Taking a step back and looking at this rationally, you should ensure that you have enough financial runway to last 2 years without making any profit on your new business. Even if you come close to that 2 years, you would get another job, any job, and keep some income flowing into your household to provide for your family. Are you comfortable with what you would have to do if the worst case scenario of your life change came to fruition? And if you answer that question, yes, you are ready for the change. Number 4, is money your main motivation in life? I know it's a lot of people's main motivation. You see, some people turn their passion into their career. Others pursue a certain lifestyle and then figure out a career that can help support the way they want to live. Whichever comes first for you, chances are that money isn't your highest priority. If it was, you would likely stick to the rat race that you're on. Instead, you're looking for something more than what money alone can buy. So whatever your reasons are for wanting to leave that rat race and embrace a change in your life, don't be too afraid to try. Leaving what you know for the unknown can be scary. Fear of the unknown, yes, could be scary. I know it was for me years ago. But I also know that it wound up being the best decision for me and my family. And I couldn't be happier that I took a chance on myself. Most importantly, I have balance, and I am now part of my family on a daily basis. And I can provide properly. And I give God the praise for that. You see, in order to stop being in a rat race, you have to stop being a rat. But you have to be conscious that what you are experiencing now is definitely not good enough, because you're in a rat race. And folks, only rats enter rat races. Let's take a break and we come back for our final segment today.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and or affiliates of this program.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks, wonderful. So, for those of you just joining for this final segment, welcome. It's better late, as we say, than dead on time. Not better late than never, better late than dead on time. So, allow me to change gear here a bit, folks, and address some areas which are related to us and the love many of us have for the rat race, which precludes us from seeing our promised land of victory where we all should reside. Folks, we all were born to be victorious. We all were born to be at the head and not at the tail. We all were born to be lenders, not borrowers and beggars. You see, that is why I always ask for people to show me which part of Grenada really is Christian, because I've been looking for it for years. Because the Bible that a lot of us like to tote and quote really does tell us that we are supposed to be at the head and not at the tail. And we have a lot of us, we are too lazy to want to position ourselves at the head. It takes effort for us to qualify to be at the head. But we think we should just be at the head just so. So we're looking for a shortcut, not realizing that remaining at the head cannot be sustained if you got there via a shortcut. You have to get there via proper means. Look at our life expectancy in Grenada, 69. Even that and all is proof that we're not Christians, because we cannot even make the biblically prescribed 70, which is 70. You see, we fall one below it. 40-something churches from St. George's to Point Saline. And that is the most devilish part of Grenada. But hey, look how many churches they have. And don't tell me that's why they have churches. Even the churches are not making a difference. Because you see, the churches in Grenada follow Western Christianity, which is all to do with cha-ching, money. Money, money, money. So the pastor, the pastress, and all of them making a money. They calling them, they're so fresh now, they're calling themselves apostles. Fast, fresh, forward, and frontish. And making mawet with religion. You understand what I'm saying? Look at service in Grenada. Everywhere you go is torture, for the most part. Everywhere you go is just torture. But the same Bible, that is the manual for Christians, if you look in it, you will see the purpose of life is for us to be of service to each other. Service to each other. So you see, I gave you 3 points here this morning that prove that I'm correct to be searching for which part of Grenada is Christian. Because a lot of people feel Christianity, it's not necessarily a verb in the strictest sense, but it's a doing thing. It's not a saying thing. I'm a Christian, I'm a Christian. You hear lie? You can't even say it good because you're not supposed to say it. I'm supposed to see you are a Christian. By your practices, I am supposed to see that. Folks, I know I am a Christian because I deal out tough love. No, me stupid, I only look stupid. I apologize for the look. So, as we change gears here today, folks, the recently concluded 19th Sir Archibald Ned Memorial Lecture, put on by the Grenada Bar Association, delivered by our esteemed Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell, himself an outstanding lawyer of note who reached the pinnacle of his career by way of successful track record in the practice, and who also stood out as the best performing go-to local legal counsel for industrial matters, was more than well received. The buzz in St. George's, and of course throughout the diaspora after his delivery, is that this young man proved that he is indeed the best Mitchell to be elected to the office of Prime Minister in and over Grenada. The theme for the lecture was reparations, republicanism, and the rule of law. What next after 50 years of independence? Folks, I'm not here to analyze his delivery in as much as I'm here to commend. The delivery is available for ready reference, so I encourage you, if you did not see it, go and enlighten yourselves, because I tell you, pregnant with information, valuable information. Mr. Derek Sylvester, President of the Grenada Bar Association, and his able executive crew ought to pat themselves on the back for a session well received at a time when Grenada has been starved of intellectual stimulation. We've been led by that old nastiness that just took us down a path of just nonsense and mawet for so long that listening and viewing that particular 19th Sir Archibald Ned lecture was a dream come true. Grenada has been reconnected to its true level. Thank God. It is said that charity begins at home, and the Youthful Bar Association deserves more than kudos for their delivery of this high-level lecture to the national audiences near and far by a local legal stalwart. Wow, that was, you see, Shirley Ann, a boss presentation. Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell showed that he more than earned his place as a man of substance. He stood out in his graduating year with honors and was the recipient of several awards at Hugh Wooding Law School in recognition of his skill as an advocate, but most notably, the Principal's Award for Advocacy, 2001-2002, and the Robert Matthew Sellier Memorial Prize, 2002, for the best performance in trial advocacy. Are you surprised that he was able to clinch the reputation so early after his delivery as one of two memorable standouts throughout the entire Sir Archibald Ned lecture series? I am not, for he is one of Grenada's finest, something that cannot be said of his predecessor in the office of Prime Minister, who can only be rightly referred to as that old nastiness. The diligence of this 46-year-old astute professional is never up for question. He's an optimist to the core and very pragmatic in his approach to life in general. He is a good friend to have, whose modus operandi is steeped in a rare form of loyalty. I am pleased to call him a trusted brother and friend. You see, Deacon is what focus, discipline, integrity, consistency, trust, and leadership is made of. He is kind and empathetic. He is an effortless thinker. He is a patriot to the core. He is results-oriented. Hence, it should be no surprise that he gets the outcome his hard work delivers. You see, the local legal profession's nobility is sustained by his efforts to preserve it through a practice steeped in integrity. His clients hold him in the highest regard and will do anything to follow him with the same loyalty he gives to them. I recall saying back in 2021, through glowing tribute to him, may the positive energies of the universe continue to guide him in his outstanding services to humanity, for he is really and truly good people. Now, this is the kind of positive accolade people should effortlessly be able to heap and deliver with confidence on our leaders. Thank God the days are over when old thief, lawbreaker, conman, stinker, nastiness, liar, degenerate, and downright disgusting could be correctly attributed to anyone holding that high office. You see, the substance of Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell's lecture reverberates in the minds of many to the point where you know that for years we can go back to YouTube archives and run it all over again, and it will be as fresh and relevant as when it was first delivered. We have had only one other Prime Minister, since of course YouTube is around, whose addresses and deliveries otherwise are evergreen as ever because of their erudite nature. And that was Maurice Bishop. Could you imagine? Palestine and the Israelis are at war today again. And you could look back at one of Maurice Bishop's speeches where he said, the Palestinians must have a home. But that man dead 40 years now, and his speech is still relevant today. I challenge any one of you, make an attempt to search for any and all of the old talk delivered by that old nastiness over the years. And all of them will yield nothing, absolutely nothing. His most famous memory of a delivery will always be, is me damn money. I'm sorry he didn't give me more. Shameless and disgraceful. And you have people we went to school with like that. Imagine you were once a prime minister and leader of a Caribbean nation that shook the world at one point in time and was elected on 3 separate occasions with full mandates. All you were known for is your conmanship, vengeance, victimization, dunsification, and pauperization of your people, your supporters, with absolutely no evidence left of a developmental thrust. That you were in office for so long, and not one of your speeches ever had an evergreen nature to it, as they all lacked substance in the strictest sense of the word. You see, in just 17 months, an administration led by this young, well-meaning, accomplished corporate lawyer, son of extremely humble beginnings, can come from nowhere and unseat this old nastiness, delivering election promise after election promise, like never before in the time of our history of elective politics. Some Grenadians, beholden to the inferior politics of the old nastiness, got so accustomed to his consistent and persistent lies that when the new administration proceeds to deliver on their promises in regular succession, we can hear them going as far as doubting and playing down such wanton deliveries, all of which seemed very easy to the decent Mitchell, our beloved rock star Prime Minister. All I ask those who insist on loving our local devil, that old nastiness in other words, to do, is to go and bring me a speech from the old nastiness for all his years in elective politics that could match any made by our current Prime Minister. I challenge you to find any. He's a man that came to politics knowing that our people do not pay attention, and therefore he could come up through the middle, keep them fooled with little to no effort. And that he did to qualify him to not be good and ain't good long, long, long. Only a true and genuine con man would operate in that manner. No wonder so many of his die-hard supporters could never stop being in a rat race because of their persistence on being rats. What a pity. We can only hear this old nastiness in his old mouth ascribe gutter comments to decent citizens who oppose his lolly drain tactics in an effort to smear them. And to think we have friends, oh God, and even relatives, you know, who we all know well, many of whom we went to school with, who actually like and support this old nastiness. What a crying shame. Folks, I recently received a note from a Grenadian citizen who is retired now, spends some time abroad where he and his wife have legitimate immigration status. This note was so instructive that it was captioned, "Thank God I have seen the light before my final change of address." And of course, I could have only inferred what he meant by his final change of address, because he's up in years, so you know where we're going with that. He says, "Hey, Eddie, please give me the light of day and read this short note of reflection for your audience. I have listened to you for years and can say that although I never agreed with you on much, one thing I can say for you is that you do not lack consistency. You keep coming and coming forcefully to register your indignation towards activities and developments in our society that have riled you up, regardless of by whom. After years of reflection, I must say, I have come to the realization that I was more opposed to your tone of disgust and to an extent your candor, steeped in bravery, to focus on what you highlighted all the while. You must have done so at great personal sacrifice, and yet you survived God's grace. Are you so correct? If it is one thing I must say, the level of respect many have for you, which they mistake for hate, you have earned. I have dubbed it respect because I have heard you say enough times that you don't care for the love, like, or dislike and hate of others. You have said this too often for it not to be true for you. My son, who is a little younger than you, said he had the pleasure of hanging out with a group that you touched in a way that no one was ever able to touch them through your motivational gift. And that is where I started to take a second look at myself and how I viewed you through my political lenses of support for what you obviously do not like and never liked. I was home to vote in last election, and of course, I voted for the now opposition. I can tell you frankly that in all my years of voting, I have never voted for a loser. The facts are stacked up very high that I too have been fooled over the years by my blindness to reality. Last week, when you mentioned that sensible Garyites will never support the now opposition party, I cringed. Because all this time I was thinking of myself as a sensible person who supported Gary. And then when I saw the overall good of the revolution, I pivoted towards them. My confession here is, then I regressed to have supported a man who I can safely conclude has conned me over the years. Thanks to people like you, others like me eventually see the light of day. I am one of those people the now leader of the opposition had fooled over the years. According to you, when I listen to the current Prime Minister, I hear substance as against what we as a people got used to from 1995 onwards. I like that my wife, a public servant, for years, could have received quite a substantial lump sum as part of the election promise of the NDC administration to pay the pension. This was a surprise for her because she never expected it. That touched me a lot. My wife was never as politically inclined as I have always been. However, she has become very vocal and is in total support of the man whose administration delivered this long overdue payment to her, which, as I said, was quite substantial. Mr. Frederick, you deserve all the respect this country's citizens can give to any citizen, as you have been out there singing the same consistent tune for years. And here we are today, realizing that with time, you were correct. Keep up the good work. Don't stop doing what you are doing, as you are really touching lives like you would never believe. For sure, you have touched mine. This new show that you have is indeed enlightening. And every week, I become more and more edified indeed. Take care now and make sure you share my contribution through this note. Yours truly, and of course, name withheld. Even though I know the gentleman would not mind, I will not share his name for reasons that I will keep to myself. Folks, I want to thank this gentleman for this note of appreciation and contrition. I am finding a lot of that these days, either by written acknowledgement or by live and direct comment to my face. Of course, I can spot the hypocrites in between. This is not to say there are not those who cringe when they see me out of embarrassment that they, notwithstanding having been to school or even university, end up supportive of that old nastiness and his inferior brand of politics just because of the personal benefits, and end up feeling totally foolish as a result when they see me. I say no more. In order to stop being in a rat race, you have to stop being a goddamn rat. Folks, I'm in, I'm out, and just before I'm gone, please allow me to share a few more thoughts. I learned a long time now that anytime you upgrade you to a different version of you, you will attract drama. Usually, you will discover that the people who prefer the old version of you will insist on talking to you about stuff you no longer have interest in. And that would piss you off. They will keep inviting you to things that you no longer want to go to anymore. In the same way, according to T.D. Jakes, the hardest place to flourish, you will find, is in the place you grew up without having the people you grew up with coming to see if they could remind you of your genesis. They start saying things like, I knew you when, I knew you how, and they refuse to know you now because they are still stuck in when. But we all have to prefer to adjust our lives to people's absence than to adjust our current boundaries to their disrespect. Just remember, what you tolerate is what you validate. Tell me you didn't need to hear that today. Just about every morning when I share my inspirational pieces on social media, I find myself extolling the virtues of gratitude and appreciation. Interestingly, too many of our people vibrate at extremely low frequencies, where ingratitude and lack of appreciation reside. People are not thankful for where they live and work, where and who they socialize with, and even the gifts they receive from time to time from people they know or just some random stranger. But folks, listen to this. Scientists have recently discovered that gratitude as a lubricant of the brain. They discover that gratitude behaves as a lubricant of the brain. You see, when one is grateful, his mind actually becomes more agile, more flexible, more adaptive. I'm talking from experience too. But when you are grateful, you just become smarter. Smarter people have more capacity, more potential, more opportunity, and they reap more success. You see, because of what I do and how I have trained myself over the years, I can afford to make the sacrifices I have made, even at great disadvantage and discomfort. I am resolved to never be defeated in life. Many opportunities presented themselves in the past, but I weathered the storm at every turn. I am unbeatable. I have been dented, damaged, and injured somewhat. But no one will be given the privilege and honor to beat me. I'm too happy not to exist. That makes me comfortable with who I am. Faults and all. I've never worried about having a lot of friends, impressing anybody, or fitting in. I was born to stand out. And because I'm on that path, I'm unbeatable. Hello? And I'm sharing this with you not out of arrogance, you know. I'm sharing this with you to ignite a fire in you to follow that path. I just stay in my own lane and I stick to what works for me. Voila! And I stand out with my life as authentic as I come across. Doing me always, regardless of the reactions of others. I am practicing not to resist reality. So I can therefore reach to that place where I don't experience stress. You see, when you resist reality, you must end up stressed. I have a friend that I speak with 2-3 times a day. Very learned individual. That person is like my compass when it comes to getting me to, hey, what happened to you, man? You sound like you're a little anxious today. Watch it. Oh, that person is listening now. The person is tuned in now. So that person knows. You see, that's the kind of people you must have in your life. Not just cheerleaders, seeing you going down marketing with a slippery shoe and telling you, yeah, man, go on, and they know you're going to fall. A lot of you guys are the kind of friends you have. But because I am the type of friend that will tell my friend what they need to hear, I want that kind of friend. That's why they're few and far between. You see, staying in one's lane, hanging out with like minds who can honestly appreciate you for who you are, cuts the fat in your life. And without complications, you can enjoy the environment you create within the boundaries you set for your life. You see, this high level of freedom to be who you want to be allows you to let people say whatever they want to say, as long as you understand and appreciate that you will be judged either way. Whether by saying something to defend yourself, you will be pronounced guilty. And if you don't say anything, you will be assumed to be trying too hard to convince them otherwise. You can't win. And so, just let people think whatever they want. Whatever they think is a reflection of their capacity, their stage of development, and who they are. That's their prerogative, folks. It is instructive to remember, when haters can't control you, they will try to control how others see you. And at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter, does it? If people will not take the time to get to know you, they are not your people anyway. So let people who do not matter to you, let them win. So when they tell you 2 + 2 = 22, tell them yes, and that is genius. Don't let yourself get reactive, because in reacting, that is what they want, to have you at a disadvantage. Just let them win the game, because in the end, they will realize they are playing alone. You were never playing with them. This time, folks, I am gone. But remember, in order to stop being in a rat race, you have to stop being a goddamn rat. Thanks for joining. Continue to share. See you next week, God willing, for regular programming. Until then, stay safe, stay well, and remain lifted, please. Do yourselves proud so that when I meet you, I too can join you to be proud of you. Have a great one, folks. Have a great one.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all. Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This has been Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy. For too long now, our generally perceived poorly educated electorate have fallen victim to the cheap and inferior propaganda of those seeking to hold others captive under the guise of democracy. Gladly, the CDGG uses edification to help to actively pursue a sustainable approach to reorient our people towards the importance of electing and selecting people of good character to public life. Through edification, we will highlight the importance of education appropriate to our development, proper healthcare and facilities as our right, respect for law and order, not to mention upgrading our people's thinking so they could become qualified participants in the democratic process to their advantage. After all, Grenada's national constitution makes allowances for the ideal of free men to enjoy freedom from fear and want, which can be best achieved if conditions are created whereby everyone may enjoy his economic, social and political, civil and cultural rights.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver.